Thank you. It's a delight to be here. I appreciate your time. As she said, I'm Dane Clark, the Associate Director of the East Texas Entrepreneurship Center, where we try to improve economies through development of robust entrepreneurship and innovative programs. Basically, we hope to innovate, validate, and cultivate. We do this through 4 ways. We've got 4 unique programs so that we don't overlap with other organizations in the area. Oh, I'm sorry. We do this with 4 unique programs. One is the Early Stage Technology Incubation Program, the Big 3 competitions, which are entrepreneurship competitions, the Business Innovation Group, which is a student organization that goes out to the business community to help businesses and consult on them. And then the 4th, which is the first up here, is what we're delivering to you, the East Texas Entrepreneurship Seminars, or the Entrepreneurship Speaker Series. And we have Dr. Reyes of the Hibbs Institute, who is going to speak on economic trends during COVID. Dr. Reyes?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Manuel Reyes, and I am with the Hibbs Institute for Business and Economic Research. The Hibbs Institute is a unit of the Seoul School of Business at UT Tyler. And we do economic research, business research, for the benefit of the community. Our influence area is the 23 counties in the northeast corner of Texas. We have a data depository for the benefit of the community. And we also function as a small consulting firm that does research if any specific research needs to be conducted by any organization or local business. Thank you so much for inviting me this afternoon. I got some interesting numbers that I would like to share with you all. The name of the presentation is Economic Trends in the COVID Times. Well, briefly, I'm going to talk about these 4 different topics. I'm going to first talk about the U.S. economy, and then I will discuss some economic indicators, specifically about Smith County and Tyler MSA. And then after all these economic indicators, I will share my opinion on why knowing all these numbers is important in the context of developing a small business or expanding a small business. And then I will give you some examples. Okay, so this is the shape of the economy in the United States. At the beginning, we see that's 2005, 6, when we have the global crisis in 2008, 9, how it fell, and then we have a large expansion, the longest expansion since the post-World War II era. And then we all know we drop substantially and suddenly, and then we are on our way to the recovery. Well, this expansion was the longest ever. Typically, we see these ups and downs in the economy all the time. We call it business cycle. This one that we lived right before the pandemic was the longest ever, with 128 consecutive months growing and growing and growing right before falling. Those are the longest business cycles since we are taking note of it. Unemployment. Well, yes, we were severely hit by the pandemic, and we shut down businesses. We were locked down in our homes. Yes, it was a hard time. Employment suffered a lot with this severe recession. As you can see, the unemployment rate was about 3.5%. In economics, typically, if the unemployment rate is below 4, you're in good shape. Because there's always some unemployment in the area. Why? Because there's people switching jobs, there's people in transition, so there's always some unemployment rate. But we typically in economics say that 4% is full employment. So we were not good, great. 3.5 for about 2 years, we were doing great. And then we had the pandemic. Suddenly, it went up to 14.8% unemployment rate. In 2 months, as you can see on the right-hand side, in 2 months, March and April, we lost more than 20 million jobs. That was terrible. Now we are facing the recovery. We're coming back. We're coming back, we're getting more jobs, and we have suffered this, health and economic crisis for nearly 2 years so far, and we're heading back. But not every single state is recovering at the same pace. There's differences. Well, this map is showing what is the difference in employment growth between February 2020, right before the pandemic, and December 2021, which is the most recent number available. And see how far we are from recovery in one state compared to others. The darker red are those states who are still struggling to recover. New York, Hawaii, and Louisiana. New York is still 7.5% below the employment levels they had back in February 2020. Louisiana is below 6%. And we're all struggling to recover. But there's 4 states that are managing it good, they're recovering, and now they are showing positive numbers. Those 4 are Idaho, Utah, Arizona, and Texas. So, great. For sure, we want a nation that's booming, is back, but we are very glad that Texas is one of the first states that is heading recovered. Okay, another indicator, consumer price index. The consumer price index is the most common indicator to measure inflation. Inflation is the increasing prices in certain periods. It has been very hard lately. On the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, it's accumulated inflation. On the right-hand side is the inflation difference month by month. Well, in the previous 2 years before the pandemic, 2018 and 2019, we were doing great. We have 1.9% and 2.3%. During the pandemic, of course, we were locked in our homes and businesses were closed. So yes, the numbers were pretty low, 1.4. But then we have a very high inflation reaching 7% in 2021. There's a lot of reasons why. The Federal Reserve Bank is in charge of managing inflation. And it's a difficult, very difficult task. We all want to grow and we all want low prices, for sure, yes. But it's pull and push. Those guys have a very difficult task to accomplish because they are having different tools to encourage the economy, to push the economy, but at the same time you have higher prices. So not that much, but yes, you push and then you pull and push. So you have to find the right, this thin line where you're having an economy that is growing, but not with very high prices. It's tough. So far, this is what all these tools that the Federal Reserve Bank employs to give this push to the economy so we can recover, now at some point are hurting all of us with higher prices. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, these 12 months of inflation from December 2020 to December 2021, this 12-month sequence is the highest since 1982. So yes, we are experiencing a very high inflation. Interest rates. This is probably the most common, most renowned tool employed by the Federal Reserve Bank to manage the economic growth and inflation prices. So typically what they do is they lower the interest rates to incentivize the economy, give this push so we can go back to business, and they typically increase the interest rates to slow down inflation. At some point, since we were living this severe recession because of the pandemic, they lower the interest rates to historical levels, between 0 and 0.25. And they also employed other tools they have to keep using different methodologies and stuff to have the economy back and recover. We're almost there. We're still on our way, and I think they will progressively increase the interest rate in 2022 to at the same time keep inflation controlled. Smith County. For our convenience and my convenience, because I gather data, the MSA, Metropolitan Statistical Areas, is defined by the Office of Management Budget, is defining a metro area as 50,000 people or more. In our case, Smith County and Tyler MSA are equivalent. And I said for my convenience because the federal agencies collect more information or more detailed information as the bigger the location is, like national, state, MSA, county. So we have more information as Tyler MSA. So that's Smith County. You can see Tyler in the center. Here's a big one if you don't see that. We can see Lindell over there on the north portion of Tyler, probably 30 minutes away from Tyler, right? So how is Tyler MSA? Lindell is part of the Tyler MSA. How is Tyler MSA doing? Well, the last number that we have is minus 4.5. So the GDP in Tyler MSA dropped 4.5%. Yeah, it was bad. But to put this in context, although bad, it was not that bad compared to other locations in the region or even in the country. To give you a quick number, Longview's economy, Longview's GDP fell to 11.5% compared to the previous year. And so Tyler MSA, we all suffered, the entire country and entire world, but Tyler was not as bad as other places. These are unemployment rates for Tyler MSA. As you can see on your left-hand side, unemployment rates were very low, and with the pandemic, it went up rapidly. But if you remember, it was not as bad as the nation. The nation unemployment rate over there in March was 14.8, and Tyler was 11.7. And then we've been recovering, and our current numbers are a little better than the nation. Also, if you can see on the right-hand side, that's employment figures. As you can see, current figures are already higher than before the pandemic. So, as the state of Texas, we were doing fine, better than other states who are still struggling. And as Tyler MSA, we are also doing well. At least we are in the phase of recovery. Now, okay, why is this important? These are economic indicators. Some people don't like economics. I love economics. But at the end, it's numbers and numbers and more numbers. Why do I care about this? Well, I will share my opinion of why do we need to know all these numbers in the context of business. Business, if you're developing your own business, if you're expanding your business, and you want to know more about the community and your customers, you want to get more customers into your store. Why is all this presentation and all these numbers that I'm presenting important for you as a business owner or small business? You have a small business idea that you want to set up. Well, interest rates. Interest rates, the easiest way to say interest rates is the cost of the money. So it's how much do I pay back to get a loan? And you all know how's the housing market doing? It's booming. The housing market is booming. We had the 30-year interest rate was historically low to 3%, and even lower than that. Now we're back at 3.5, but still very low compared to years before. So it's a great opportunity in terms of for the housing market. Real estate, guys, no, of this, and it's a unprecedented time. Cars, personal loans. It's not uncommon that when you have an idea of developing your own small business, you need to fund it somehow, and it's tough. Frequently, entrepreneurs fund their great idea they have with credit cards. Well, or they request for a personal loan. Well, the cost of the money, the cost of establishing your own small business is lower these days than before, and because the interest rates are the lowest ever. So that's something to keep in mind when you have an idea and you have been tempted to quit your job and set up your own small business that you have been thinking about for several years. Well, maybe that's the time. Now is the time, because the interest rate that you can get these days is better than ever. Change in demographics. Things are changing. Probably they were changing even before the pandemic, but a lot of things are going to be changing. The Hispanic community is growing. The Hispanic community is growing nationwide. It's growing in the state of Texas, and it's growing significantly in the Tyler area. The last number I have for 2019, the U.S. Census typically release their numbers in December each year, but now because of the pandemic, they are a little behind, so I will have more recent numbers by March, they said. So 20.1% is the most recent number I have about for Hispanic population. This is 1 in 5. So in Tyler MSA, 1 out of 5 persons is Hispanic. Why do I care? Well, in the context of a small business, in the context of a business, you should take care of this because you're serving or you have a lot of clients that are Hispanic. Like what? Well, if you have a restaurant, maybe at some point you will consider having either a bilingual waiter or waitress, or even introducing a menu in Spanish. And maybe that's going to give you an advantage versus other restaurants in the area. If you own a spa, massage, any kind of personal care, well, maybe you should consider have a bilingual personnel because you are going to be able to reach these people who are growing and getting more and more income. What else? Changing demographics. Well, for some reason, the rate of new births was very high in 2021. So new births, babies, compared to other previous years are more. So yeah, well, if you think about that, that's a perfect opportunity to develop a business. Well, if you are, to establish a daycare, maybe commercialize baby clothing, and then, I don't know, baby food. So you have, proportionally speaking, relatively speaking, you have more babies this year than what you had before the pandemic. So yes, we suffered the pandemic. Yes, it was terrible times, but we can use the opportunities that the pandemic is living now that we are recovering. And knowing all these numbers is going to open your mind and say, hey, that's a great opportunity for me. So yeah, more babies, there's going to be more toddlers. So keep an eye on that, and you can make that an opportunity, a business opportunity. Next one, labor market dynamics. The labor market, it's changing. It was changing before the pandemic, but now this change expedited. There's a lot of differences these days. The labor force is shrinking. I'm sure that you have seen restaurants where you say, we're hiring. You have seen that places like Walgreens is having a very, relatively speaking, high minimum wage or wage per hour than what they had before. Well, the reason is because the labor force is shrinking. The labor force is the number of persons that are willing and looking for a job actively. So we have less people than we had before. How come? Well, I have identified 5 factors. 1, early retirees. Well, because of the pandemic, a lot of people, well, we all know that COVID-19 was, or older ages were more at risk for the COVID-19 virus. So a lot of people over 60 wanted to stay at home or not being in a crowded place. So at some point, before the pandemic, people 65 and over were still trying to work. But with the pandemic, they were like, what's the point? Some of these guys are wealthy enough or have enough money to retire and say, you know what, I don't want to deal with it. I'm good. And if you consider that the stock market is booming and the housing market is booming, well, maybe you have 1 or 2 properties, you're getting some rent, so you are getting more money than what you expected before the pandemic. You have some money because of the stock markets, so what's the point? So they are like, you know what, I'm good, I'm going to retire. And they are retiring earlier, 55 and over, instead of 60 something. And this is nationwide. So the labor force shrinking. What else? Young people. Young people we all know this. When we are on the college years, it's very common that you go and work at the retail store, you work at a restaurant, you serve food, you work as a waiter, waitress. That was very common. Well, these days, these young folks, just are pointing in a different direction. They are not that into physically intense work. Yeah, right. Some say. And now they have the benefit of the technology. So a lot of these guys are now using their cell phones to do stuff and getting some income. And oftentimes, this income they're getting is either equivalent or better than what they can have out serving tables at the local restaurant, because they're using Robinhood, they trading options, they trading stocks, they are doing Instagram and selfies. And they're doing selfies on Instagram and they publish and they have some kind of income. So they call themselves Instagrammers and what's the name? Influencers. Yes, they're influencers. Thank you. So they having a different source of income. So they're not interested in getting into the labor force. So we have the labor force this size. People on the end are retiring sooner. People on the beginning are not jumping in, so their labor market is shrinking. What else? Female labor force. A lot of women used to be part of the labor force. With the pandemic, a lot of women went back home, had to stay to take care of children, because we have a school, homeschool. We were having classes online, so they had to go back and take care of sometimes home office, and then school, homeschool, and then house. It was a tough time, but at some point they happened to manage it. So they're good, and now the option is like, okay, if you go out to the labor force and you're gonna make this much money, and they were like, I don't know, because I have to go back to the labor force, and then the daycare is kind of expensive, so I'm gonna be out all day, and then like running like crazy, like picking out the kids, and then go back and do cook food. Like, you know what? Is it worthwhile for the difference of how much money am I making compared to what I'm paying? Like, you know what? No. So we don't have that. The women's labor force has not recovered to what we have in the past. So the labor force is shrinking. And, well, of course, people with fear of being infected by the virus rather stay at home. They try to stay at home if they can. They don't want to be in public spaces, so rather not go back to the labor force if they can do it. And the additional employment benefits that we got. So the federal government was giving this big push to the economy, so poor people can be fine during these tough days, and they give a lot of benefits to everyone, employment benefits, which was great. Maybe the allocation is very hard because you cannot identify who is going to need more than others, but there was a big push into the economy to help us all recover soon. Well, the bad side about that is that some people were like, I'm having this and that benefit, and if you put them all together, it's kind of about the same than what I can make if I go out and work hard, sometimes physically, for 8 hours. So we're like, Well, some people decided not to go back and stay watching the TV or like on the couch because they were making the same money for doing nothing than compared to go out and work hard. So it seems that most of those benefits are progressively going down. So I think that we should have that portion of the labor force gradually coming back. But all of this caused the labor market to shrink. So, yeah, it's interesting, but why is this important? Because if I have an idea, I'm going to establish my own business, and I have projected salaries of my employees to X, Y, and Z. And some of them, I don't know, 3, 5 people, I'm projecting to have $9, $10 per hour. Well, these days, good luck with that. You're not going to find people willing to go work with you for 9 or 10 hours because supply and demand. Since the labor force shrinked a lot, people are, well, the price needs to go up. So the salaries paid by business owners are higher. So if you are trying to set up your own business, well, your projections most likely will change, and you will consider higher salaries than what you thought before the pandemic. Labor market dynamics. What else is changing? Well, the healthcare industry is booming. It is projected that by 2030, the healthcare in Tyler and Longview areas are going to grow 30%. 30%. That's a lot. It's growing a lot. It's booming. So the dynamics are changing significantly. So how can I take advantage of that? Well, this is Tyler MSA. That's on the top bar, horizontal bar, is healthcare and social assistance. That means that 25,000 people in Tyler MSA work in the healthcare and social assistance industry. 21.6%. So about 1 out of 5 persons in the area work in the healthcare industry. Well, if you are trying to establish your own business or setting up customers, well, if you have an idea that's related to the healthcare industry, you have more potential customers to sell. And what else? They make good money, so they can afford your product, your service. So if we know what is the industry share, the predominantly industry in the area, we know that these are potential customers. Second in line is retail trade and accommodation and food services. So if you consider this kind of information, you can make this an opportunity to your business. This is occupations. So in Tyler MSA, where do people work at? Well, the highest is office administrative support, 14,000 people, and the average wage is $37,000. Well, maybe if you think about office and administrative support in the healthcare industry, you have a bunch of people. So if you can produce something for them, well, then you are using an opportunity. You're changing this bad situation that we all experience into a good idea. Let me quickly give you a good idea. I love this. Well, because of the pandemic, I was in my house, I was home office, and we were fear of being outside. We know that 70% of alcohol will kill the virus. Well, when I was there watching the news, somebody was thinking, oh, we all use wipes. Well, these wipes, somebody was thinking, and somebody add 70% alcohol to the wipes. So this person, whoever it was, changed. When I was sitting watching the news scared, he was thinking of how can I use the context that we're living into a business idea. Well, they're selling a lot of these products. So going back to the office and administrative support in the healthcare industry, well, if you sell this to local businesses and they can wipe their desks, well, you're selling a lot because you're consuming a lot. It's just an example of how you can use this opportunity into a good opportunity for business. Finally, change in consumption. It was before the pandemic and now it's still there. So everything is changing. As I said, the demand for products and services because of the pandemic changed. So yes, we had, at some point in late 2020, appliances were pricey. Why? Because people used to spend their money in services. And with the pandemic, they were not able to do that. So they have some extra money. So they decided to buy a new TV, buy a new washer and dryer. So prices of appliances went up towards the end of the 2020, year 2020. So there are always consumption patterns that we can see and project and use it as a business idea. So the COVID changed a lot of things, and if we keep an eye on those changes that have changed, we can use it on our benefit. What else? Changing consumption. Well, these days we have the major industry that is growing, entertainment and communication. Entertainment and communication is growing a lot. That's one of the you'll know, is if you produce something in this industry, you have a great chance to succeed. And I forgot to tell you about this. I love this. This is another brilliant person who used the context that we're living and put it in a nice business idea. Well, this is a mask. It has a filter and it has a small fan inside. So if you want to go desperately go to the gym, but gyms are closed. They were open then, but it's a closed place. So you don't want to risk yourself. So this guy produced a mask that has a filter, and so you're protected, the air is being cleaned, and also has Bluetooth. So see? And it's like 20 something in Amazon. So at the same time, you're protected, you're back to the gym, like, I want to go back to the gym. So you're lifting weights, you're running, you have your mask, you're safe, and you're listening to music. Wow. And it's affordable. So this is how people can use our environment to transform into a great business idea. I love coffee. I really love coffee. Starbucks. So changing in consumption patterns, products and services. This is a coffee. No, it's not a coffee. It's not only a coffee. It's $6 coffee. This is not a coffee. This is a product designed for me. This is a caramel macchiato venti with 2% milk and extra whipped cream on it. And it has my name on it. It's Manuel's written there. So it was personalized. That's what people want these days. Something that was made for me. And that's another idea in terms of a change in the consumption patterns that we can use in our business. That's done. I'm not done. That's somebody else's coffee. What else? Netflix. I love watching movies and series in Netflix. And the thing knows what I like. I like crime shows. So I watch one and add it to my list, and then something else comes up, and they have a trailer. Oh, that's one, that's look good. Add it to the list, add it to the list, add it to the list. So it's a personalized service. It's not only Netflix, it's not only shows, it's not only movies. They know what you're doing. They track you. So this is the new way to succeed in business. Well, in the past, maybe as long as you are cost efficient, you just produce, and you will sell it to someone. No, not anymore. Now, people want to be something designed for themselves, something more personalized. So that's another example of how consumption patterns are changing, and it will be great that we use all this, we open our eyes, and we use all these changes on our benefit as an advantage to create a great business opportunity, business idea. And with that, I conclude my presentation.